So I came across an article from the CBC earlier today, and it was talking about this Toronto teacher who was assaulted by two of his students, 13-year-old students, and there was actually another student in there that you saw throw something at the teacher, but I guess he wasn't charged with anything. But these two students are charged, and the article is not going to bring up the real problem, the real reason why there's a rise in crime and violence in the Toronto school systems. It has to do with diversity. It doesn't have to do with the lack of mental health funding and uh, Doug Ford cutting the autism spending and increasing class sizes, where, yeah, that's not good. Increasing class sizes, I think that's not a good idea. But Ontario is overspending massively, and they have to make cuts, definitely, because they're one of the most indebted countries, like sub nations in the world, or they are the most indebted. So they got to do something about their debt, and if they would have done something earlier, then maybe they wouldn't have had to make, or they wouldn't have to make as many cuts as they do right now. But nonetheless, the article goes at the very end here, and it's like the lady for the union is blaming the cuts from Doug Ford. She's like, students have a variety of needs and profiles. La Chica says the classrooms need more support from the provincial government to curb the vulnerability of teachers as well as other students. But she says recent changes by the provincial government to Ontario's autism program and class size could result in an increase of these types of confrontations. We need to shift this because this cannot continue. So yeah, it's because of Doug Ford and the funding. This is the problem. Where no, it's not. It's diversity. I can tell you with firsthand experience. I went to a school that was, French, so it was very homogenous. The majority of people who went there were indeed white. There was a couple other people there, but the majority of it was white. And guess what? Everybody got along great. There were barely any fights. Nobody disrespected the teachers. Nobody threw things at the teachers. It was fine. But if you go across the road and you go to these other schools that were English and they were more diverse, there was violence continuously. There was cops being called there almost every week. There was teachers being assaulted. It was constant. There was tons of drugs being sold. The list goes on and on and on. And this is to do with diversity. It's not because of the lack of funding. Because, like I said, my school, there was none of these problems. And it was because everybody, they were mostly all homogenous. There were some spats here and there. I'm not saying it was completely perfect, but compared to what I saw in the other schools, it was heaven. It was great. But they're never going to address this, especially in Toronto. It's just going to be, we need more money. We need more money in this, and if we get more black teachers and more teachers of color, then the racism or the violence will go away. It's like, no, it's not. It's just going to increase. And this has been happening for years. I looked this up, violence in Toronto schools, and there was a chart here, and they're talking about in 2016 and 17, ETT received more than 400 filings of violent incident reports from our members, the elementary teachers employed by the Toronto District School Board. So this is elementary school teachers. Like I was in a high school, so you would expect even more issues. But no, it was less violent in this fucking elementary school. And these teachers, these kids you see in the video, they're just attacking, punching this teacher, and he's restraining himself. And he's lucky, those kids are lucky he didn't like punch them all out, right? But he would be in a lot of trouble if he did that. And a lot of these teachers are just like, they can't really do anything. And this is only 400, and they're assuming that a lot of them are not reporting. So it's probably much higher than 400 acts of violence between 2016 and 17. That's 1 year. And 400, it's probably like 800 or 1,000. So every day within their school district, there's one or two violent acts directed towards teachers alone, not even other students they're taking into consideration. So these places to don't send your kids to public schools, especially if they're extremely fucking diverse, because it's not going to be a good place of learning. They're not going to learn anything. There's going to be tons of violence and disruption going on. So the best thing for your kid is to send him to a school where there is less diversity, where people are more homogenous, and they will get a better learning experience. And that's just the unfortunate truth, but it is the truth. And nobody's going to address this. Like I said, they're going to blame it on funding and spending. But we all know what the real problem is, and it's not going to get better. But that's all I pretty much had to say. If anybody likes my content, subscribe and have a good day. See ya.